Exploring Britain's lost railways opens up a world of adventure.
Gotta love an old railway tunnel. Oh, this is spectacular.
As an engineer, I love the ambition and scale of the railway age.
Oh, beautiful.
And there are thousands around Britain who cherish its memory.
You missed the last train by about 85 years.
Now there are 8,000 miles of forgotten track to discover.
Wow, these are giant.
And every lost railway has its own story to tell.
It's wonderful.
This time, I'm in the heart of England,
This just always makes me very happy.
following a high-speed railway that tore through the cities of the East Midlands.
They cleared 1,300 houses and a church.
And I discover how parts of this ambitious line
All right, full steam ahead.
are being brought back to life
Goodness me.
in very unexpected ways.
I've seen a number of stations converted, but never a bowling alley.
By 1890, the 6 counties of the East Midlands were an engine room of Britain's booming industrial economy. And that made this prime railway country. There were already 3 lines running north to south, connecting the Midlands to London.
But there was one railway entrepreneur who believed the time was right to add one more. His name was Edward Watkin, and despite plenty of opposition, as the 1800s drew to a close, he built a new line straight through the centre of England.
Watkin was already the chairman of various railway companies, with interests in the north and the southeast of England. Now he wanted a connection between the 2 regions. A line from the Midlands to London would give him the missing link to his railway empire. And for 65 miles, I'm going to retrace its route on my walk. I'm starting my journey just north of Nottingham in Annesley. This was once an intensely industrial area.
Now, this site here used to be full of waste from the nearby colliery, and it was the coal extracted from Annesley that motivated Watkin to build his line here. It would also be the first step on his route south to London.
If he had a railway going south from here, Watkin could transport the coal straight to its biggest market in the capital. But to compete with the lines already connecting the north to London, there would have to be something that made his railway truly special.
That thing was speed, and this line would come to be called the Great Central Railway.
Watkin had an obsession with high-speed travel. This line would be engineered to have no sharp corners and no steep gradients.
In many ways, what Watkin was building was the 19th century equivalent of HS2. Ambitious, expensive, certainly. And it would join the north and the south. Plus, Watkin's railway was going to do something that HS2 could only dream of. It would carve a path straight through the region's biggest towns and cities.
Cities like Nottingham. The cotton industry had helped turn this into one of the biggest industrial centres of Victorian Britain. But now the Great Central Railway was going to plough straight through it.
New lines being built today, like HS2 say, would never be allowed to rip up city centres. But that's exactly what the Great Central did. And it's fascinating for me that, unlike us, the Victorians thought nothing of tearing out architecture or history even, anything if it got in the way of modernising Britain.
So in 1900, this city got a grand new station, Nottingham Victoria. It was one of the largest in the country outside of London. But remarkably, it lasted just 67 years before another set of city modernisers swept it away to build a shopping centre. Today, the clock tower is the only obvious clue the station was ever here. So, to search for more evidence, I'm meeting Janine Tanner from the local Railway History Society.
It's a mighty fine clock tower, isn't it?
It is. It's brilliant. It's 100 feet tall, and it absolutely dominated the station.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And this was the station for the Great Central Railway?
The Great Central and the Great Northern.
OK.
So that they both worked from this station.
In the days of competitive Victorian railway companies, the Great Northern was one of Watkins' chief rivals. When permission was given for this new central station, the two companies agreed to share it in an uneasy alliance.
They originally couldn't decide on a name when it was first built. The Great Central wanted to call it Nottingham Central, and the Great Northern wanted to call it Nottingham Joint Station. And when the station first started, they were each selling their own tickets with Nottingham Central and Nottingham Joint Station. And they realised that, you know, they had to come to some sort of agreement. So somebody suggested Nottingham Victoria, because the official opening date for the station was Queen Victoria's birthday.
Perfect.
So they agreed on that, and that's how Nottingham Victoria got a name.
What I find astonishing is how they went about building this station slap bang in the middle of Nottingham city centre, which was already built up.
Well, it was a 13-acre site that they took on, and they cleared 1,300 houses, 24 public houses and a church in order to make the station.
Gone, just
yeah.
cleared.
Yeah, because it was classed as a slum district, so...
Around 6,000 people lost their homes to make way for the massive station. It had a whopping 12 platforms, which, intriguingly, were all deep below street level.
All right. And it's down, down, down.
Yes.
After you. Exciting.
As we descend under the modern shopping centre, you can just make out part of a passageway which led down to the platforms.
It's quite lovely to see some of this old, what I imagine is some of the old railway architecture
Yes,
here. These,
it is, yeah.
You know, some in better conditions than others. I mean, they're so distinctive, aren't they, to railway, Victorian railway era, these glazed tiles. Yeah, they're lovely.
The platforms were further down still. As this part of the city is on a hill, an enormous excavation was required to keep the railway level.
It feels like we're a good, I don't know, maybe 15 metres down?
Easily. They excavated 600,000 cubic yards of sandstone.
You could easily come past here and have no idea that this was down here and what used to be down here.
Yes, I think a lot of people in Nottingham wouldn't even think twice about what this hole in the ground was.
It was just a hole in the ground in the middle of Nottingham.
Yeah, yeah.
These sandstone walls here, all along to the tunnel.
Yes.
Is that the entrance to the tunnel?
Yes, that's Mansfield Road Tunnel. That tunnel was 1,189 yards long, so it's nearly a mile.
Goodness me.
Edward Watkin was big on tunnels. This was one of 4 in Nottingham. But they were small fry compared to his other tunnelling project, because he wanted to bore right under the English Channel.
His dream was simple, to connect Manchester to London and then on to Paris. Now there's a man with some serious ambition.
Of course, in the end, Britain would have to wait almost another 100 years before it got its Channel Tunnel. But Watkin did succeed in his desire for a high-speed link to London. Great Central trains would regularly reach 80 miles an hour as they thundered south, thanks to the straight and level track and lack of obstacles. Remarkably, there was only one level crossing on the entire route. And even Nottingham's mighty River Trent was no barrier.
There used to be a bridge right here. You can see the remains of the abutment there, which probably would have proved pretty useful for these trams here if it was still a bridge. They have to take a real dogleg off of their line to go across that bridge in the background. Certainly wouldn't have done for Edward Watkin.
As chairman of the Great Central, Watkins' obsession with speed paid off. By 1904, Great Central trains were 8 minutes quicker from London to Leicester than those of the rival Midland Railway. But some 40 years after it opened, the Great Central found another defining role, helping to build and supply a vital linchpin in Britain's war effort, just south of Nottingham at Ruddington. Today, this is a country park covering more than 200 acres. But in 1940, this whole area was transformed into a gigantic and top-secret factory where bombs were filled with explosives. June McConnell and Jean Gray belong to a local history group with a keen interest in unearthing the site's wartime role, including the debt it owes to my railway.
Hardly anybody in the village, they didn't know what was going on here. They knew it was probably part of the war effort, but they certainly didn't know that they were making bombs.
Well, how important was the railway to this munitions factory then? What services did it provide for the factory?
It brought all the equipment in, it brought all the workers in, 3 shifts a day, hundreds and hundreds of people.
So they'd bring people in and then they'd take the other workers out when they'd finished their shift.
Oh, so they were special trains that were timed specifically for the shift changes?
Yes, there were others as well to bring the equipment in and take the completed bombs out, but those were specifically for all the shift workers, yeah.
Wow. So the railway was absolutely vital to the operations of this site.
Absolutely imperative to it, yes.
Ruddington was one of 16 bomb-filling factories hidden around the country. Up to 3,000 people, many of them women, would arrive by train at a secret station. Railway sidings connected the numerous buildings so heavy materials could easily be shunted around. And, excitingly for me, some of that old network still survives today.
This building here is one of the original ones, and there you can see the little bit of railway track that was there.
Do we know much about the operations that went on in here?
We talk about the clean side and the dirty side.
Clean side and the dirty side?
Yes. Now, when the bomb cases were coming in to here, they had first of all to be cleaned out, even though they were empty, just in case there was one speck of grit or anything that might cause an explosion. And so that was called the dirty side.
The staff had to change all their clothes.
Yes.
Weren't allowed any metal, no hair grips, no watches, no buckles on your shoes, nothing. Had to take everything that had got any piece of metal off.
Goodness me.
Yes.
And of course, the women, when they were filling the bombs, they were using TNT, which gives the yellow streaks in the hair.
How did that work?
They were making a mixture of nitrate, TNT and aluminium powder.
Right.
And that was all mixed up, and I suppose they got some on their fingers. And then, you know how women do, they'll probably touch their hair a little bit, and so it turns the hair yellow. So anybody that they saw in the village with yellow hair, they knew that they were working up on the depot.
Really?
Yes.
So there were maybe clues as to what they might have been up to, but I guess they wouldn't have been allowed to tell their stories.
No, couldn't say anything, couldn't take any photographs, couldn't do anything like that.
Of course, no photos,
No, nothing.
Everything was top secret.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What went on here at Ruddington would be very difficult to spot were it not for the surviving railway sidings. And they've also become the starting point for something of a comeback for the Great Central Railway. On weekends and holidays, vintage trains depart from here and run south along the old line.
And funnily enough, it's not the only heritage line on my route.
This section is now known as the Great Central Railway Nottingham. It runs for 10 miles to reach the outskirts of Loughborough. Then, a second heritage line takes over for a further 8 miles to Leicester. But the two lines don't join up. There's a small but significant gap between them.
This raised embankment next to me here is part of the old Great Central Railway, and it's the final stretch of our heritage line number 1. But that might not be the case for too much longer.
For decades, the two volunteer groups have been running their lovingly restored engines on either side of that infuriating gap. Now, though, they've joined forces to bridge the divide, with the aim of running trains along 18 miles of the Great Central Railway. The missing section of line crossed two massive bridges. One rusting relic once carried the railway over the Grand Union Canal. And just a few months ago, the heritage team completed an incredible restoration of the steel structure, paid for mainly by public donation. Michael Stokes is a leading member of the Great Central Railway Volunteers.
Well, what state was this in then to be refurbished?
They literally took it apart. They worked on it from underneath and from the top, and literally restored all the metalwork, and as you can see, it's nicely painted and ready to go. So, you know, people are seeing that the progress is going on.
It looks great.
Yeah,
it looks
yeah,
absolutely fantastic. There's a way to go then to connect up to the end of what is your heritage railway at the moment.
Yes, our heritage railway ends in the loco shed, basically.
Right.
So, again, part of the project is to move the loco shed to the right, so that the line will then come through to go through up to the Great Central North.
I love it. You're going to move your shed. Just pop that over the side.
Well, not quite like that. But at least now the whole project has the momentum. And we've got two appeals going on at the moment. One is the Reunification appeal, which is filling in that bit. And one is the loco shed appeal, which is moving that bit.
So to do what you've done so far, how much does that cost?
Well, probably the spend is somewhere in the region of 3 to 4 million so far.
3 to 4 million so far. And it's to bridge a gap of what?
500 yards.
500 yards.
Barely a train's length down the route, there was another bridge that didn't need restoring so much as building again from scratch. The original bridge crossed the rival Midland Railway, which is still a busy main line today. It was demolished when the Great Central closed. But now it's back.
That's a brand new bridge, is it?
Brand new bridge. So they constructed it to the side of the Midland Main Line, and then with agreement with Network Rail, the Midland Main Line was shut down one night, and we had the cranes in, 1,000-ton cranes these were, that could pick the whole bridge up and literally drop it in place.
And did it all get done in time?
Yes, it did.
Oh, there must have been so much pressure that night working on that.
I mean, it was fantastic to watch.
When the Victorians built the Great Central Railway, they had 9,500 men and up to 40 of the latest steam cranes. So the scale of what this small band of volunteers has taken on is extraordinary. The next challenge will be to connect the two bridges with a raised embankment ready for track to be laid.
Well, it's something that I want to keep my eye on over the next few years.
Well, you're young enough to keep it. Keep your eye on it.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
We're all looking forward to it, and you know, I think as a tourist attraction, it will make a hell of a difference in this area.
Yeah, bringing back the Great Central.
Yeah.
Carrying on my journey, I get to hitch a ride on the second heritage line, this time simply called the Great Central Railway. But before I board the train, there's a whole station that's been fully restored. And it's a cracker.
Oh, wow. Goodness me. Stepping through these doors is like stepping back through time. What an amazing job's been done restoring this place. So carefully, so lovingly.
Loughborough Central was a typical Great Central station. And in the 1970s, it was rescued from demolition by the Heritage Volunteers.
It just gets better down here.
It's now the starting point for the only double-track mainline heritage railway in the country. Meaning steam trains can pass one another, just as they did in Edward Watkins' day.
Just coupling up. That's got it. Beautiful. This just always makes me very happy.
Stations on Watkins Railway were built to a very particular design, with a central island for passengers situated between the tracks. This distinctive layout is something the staff here are rather proud of.
Sir Edward Watkin was always thinking about the future, and one of the things that he had in mind was quadrupling, so having another set of tracks outside these existing ones. And of course, if you'd done that with the traditional layout of a station,
Yes.
you'd have had to knock down all the buildings.
Whereas with here, you've got the two, you'd put your two extra tracks in and then just build.
Two more on the outside.
Very clever, very forward thinking.
Indeed.
But it didn't come to fruition.
It didn't come to fruition.
Okay.
Watkins' desire for a 4-track railway was all part of his ambitious scheme to connect the north of England all the way to France. But his dreams of a Channel tunnel provoked mockery and alarm.
Well, I think a lot of people felt that it was a security risk and there was building a Channel tunnel might give an opportunity for a foreign invasion.
This was 1890s. Okay.
And later. And of course, First World War broke out in 1914.
Huh. Still, you've got to admire Watkins for having that dream, that vision that he desperately wanted to make happen, right?
And actually to think that you could have a 22-mile tunnel
Yeah.
through the Channel
Yeah.
In the 1910s.
Watkin was a controversial figure. It didn't help his reputation that building this railway cost nearly 4 times the original estimate. And when it was up and running, it would never be as profitable as the much older Midland Railway. Aged 74 and feeling the pressure, Watkin resigned before the Great Central was finished.
And his legacy possibly divides opinion, but there's no doubt modern-day tourists and day trippers on this line, myself included, very much appreciate his efforts.
I think this grand old man of the railways was really quite modern. Here was a late Victorian obsessed with fast, direct train links across the country.
Had this line remained open, perhaps there wouldn't be a need now for a new high-speed link.
We're not going to reach high speeds today. Although I have to say, I can't think of many more comfortable ways to travel 8 miles. But before I reach Leicester, I'm hopping off my train to pay a visit to a rather special station. Corn and Woodhouse.
Morning. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Lovely. Right, here we are, Corn and Woodhouse. And you can see there are these telltale signs that this was a great central railway station. It's got its island platform here in the middle with the track on either side. And you can just about make out at the top the entrance at road level that then came down into the station here. Look at this bridge with its really wide gap that would have allowed for double track on each side of the platform. It's just beautiful.
By the time this station opened in 1899, building the line had left the company finances in a precarious position. Legendary chairman Edward Watkin had retired, so it was left to new manager Sam Fay to rebrand the line. He decided the Great Central would be about luxury as well as speed. As passengers arrived in the polite grandeur of its London Marylebone terminus, this would feel like a railway for gentlefolk. And the tiny Leicestershire villages of Corn and Woodhouse were a key part of the plan.
Station Corn.
Station Master Jack Shaw knows all about the Great Central's grand aspirations.
Hello.
Hey, Jack. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
This is very nice.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Sam Fay actually marketed the railway in such a way that focused a lot on tourism and leisure, including a lot of a lot of hunting spots, and he produced a map of all the hunting arrangements that were available on the Great Central Railway, and Quorn was one of those stations that people used.
OK, you'd come here as part of your tourism, your holidays, your leisure time.
I mean, Marylebone Station at the terminus was never described to have the hustle and bustle as some of the other London stations, and was marketed very much as a gentleman's station. So this was very much a gentleman's railway. And one of the ways in which the railway succeeded was by attracting some very wealthy and upper-class people. The station staff, on occasion, would receive a telephone call from an equerry to say, please bring a halt to the Up Express because the Prince of Wales, future King Edward VIII, would like to board the train here.
Oh, really? This is one of his hunting grounds, was it?
Absolutely.
Quite literally?
Quite literally. He would get changed in this room where we're sat.
Really?
Yes. So we have a photograph here of Quorn and Woodhouse taken in about 1905, and as you can see that the booking office windows, the lower panes are actually frosted glass.
So it just afforded him a little bit of modesty.
A little bit of privacy.
Oh, what are some of these other pictures you've got in here, Jack?
This is a photograph of Quorn village itself, taken about 1934. On the back.
Oh, so this is a postcard?
And on the back here, it's got a rather lovely note. This is the hunting village where the royalty often are seen, Main Street.
Oh, OK. So someone's showing off that they've been where the royals go.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, how lovely.
But it wasn't only well-heeled day trippers and future kings who were using the Great Central. This railway had been built to move huge quantities of freight, like the coal from Nottingham. And its goods trains remained the lifeblood of the railway, a fact not forgotten by the heritage volunteers who regularly reenact local deliveries.
We've got that van to unload full of parcels, and that's going off to do its delivery round in the village.
Oh, yeah, we are full.
It's on the lorry.
Oh, jeez. God, I'm sorry. I hope that wasn't fragile.
Even small rural communities like Quorn and Woodhouse would have goods trains stopping every day, delivering everything from post...
Anyone for tea?
Oh, yeah, lovely.
...to fresh produce.
Deserve a cuppa after all this. Thank you. Is this stuff all insured? Jack? We might have had some breakages. Sorry.
Well, you've got to be careful with this one.
We've got a glass one here. Right, OK, good. Thank you. Careful. Right, OK, so we've emptied, have we?
That's the van emptied.
Just please do send my apologies to Mrs. Miggins for the smashed jars of honey that she'll be getting. Well, my apologies.
After all that hard work, it's time for me to enjoy some of that great central luxury with a quick cuppa before I'm back off on foot again. Next stop on the Great Central Railway's unforgiving march south was Leicester, a city that had exploded in size largely thanks to the textile industry. But just as in Nottingham, the railway's engineers treated Leicester as a barrier that needed to be breached.
I'm in the outskirts of Leicester here, and the railway runs just beneath me, going under this bridge. And with the landscape becoming more residential, you get a sense for the chaos building this line would have caused, as hundreds of homes had to be demolished to make way for this route, meaning that families and sometimes whole communities had to be uprooted and relocated.
About 300 houses were demolished to make way for a mile-long viaduct which carried the railway right into Leicester's centre.
And they really didn't take any prisoners. And once they decided on a route, they stuck to it, no matter what the cost, human or financial. Now, this viaduct, like many of the structures on the Great Central, is made from these blue engineering bricks. Now, essentially, they're the same as conventional red bricks, but they've been baked for longer. And it's that process that gives them this deep, rich blue colour. But in addition to that, they've also got a higher crushing strength and a lower water absorption rate, meaning that they're a stronger, more durable brick type. So the perfect choice, really, for building railway viaducts and bridges. The only downside is they're 3 times the price.
Only remnants of the viaduct that once strode through Leicester still stand today. But the station it led to, Leicester Central, has not only survived, but after years of neglect is now on the verge of a whole new existence. Stretching over 1/4 of a mile, it was once a grand hub for the city.
I'm definitely in the right place. Great Central Railway parcel offices. And look at the architecture along the building here. This is definitely the station building. Now, I've been given special permission to come and have a look inside just days before it's due to reopen in its new guise. Wonder if I'll be bowled over by what I find.
Leicester Central has been firmly closed to the public for 50 years. The platforms were ripped up and the elegant interiors became car workshops. But now, the station is just days away from reopening in a surprising new incarnation, as a huge entertainment space, complete with a bowling alley. Graham Smith is leading the project.
I've seen a number of stations converted into homes or businesses, but nothing this big and never a bowling alley, Graham.
I mean, trying to find a central train station in a city centre you can convert into a bowling alley is very, very complex and very rare as well. So this is the kind of project we're excited about because we'll never do anything like this in our lifetime again.
Do you know how it would have been laid out when it was Leicester's central train station?
Yeah, so there's 3 train tracks going through where we've got Crazy Golf. There's 3 arches. We're going to reuse the ticket office into a kind of pop-up bar. And you've got all the old waiting rooms, fireplaces are all still in place.
Everything here is on a suitably grand scale for a former Great Central Railway station. When it's up and running in just days, around 70 staff will be kept busy across more than 20,000 square feet of entertainment space.
It's a really nice aspect of what you're doing here is opening up what was a public space, the public train station, right in the centre of the city, and now inviting public back in. You know, it's kind of putting it back as it was. I mean, it's with a slightly different purpose, but still, it's going to be busy and hubbub again.
Yeah, and hopefully we can make it as vibrant as it was.
Fantastic.
But what I really want to see is at the heart of the building. Where once there were platforms, there are now bowling lanes.
Ah, brilliant. This is awesome. So yeah, we're not quite finished, are we? But I can bowl.
Yeah, you can. These are ready and waiting for you. You'll be the first person to try this out. It's all brand new. Never been touched. Yeah, yeah. Just took the dust sheets off just for you.
Now there's even more pressure.
Yeah, a little bit.
But what I love it. So, but this is where the trains used to be coming through here.
Trains would have came this way, along here, through these arches, just in this room here. So right where we're standing would have been a train track going straight through.
Okay. Here we go. Oh, not bad, not bad. I would have loved to get a strike for the first one down there. Never mind. 8 out of 10. Graham, this place is absolutely brilliant. I'm really, really excited for life to be breathed back into this building.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be good. We're not far away. 10 days, we'll be finished.
Fantastic, yeah. Fantastic. Next time in Leicester,
yeah.
I'm coming back. I'll enjoy this.
You'll have to come down.
And I'll get that strike.
Yeah.
Time for me to get back on my walk. By 1899, the Great Central had created the fastest route yet from the north of England to the south. But building the railway after its mainline rivals were already well established caused its engineers numerous headaches. And that was certainly the case here at Rugby.
At one point, you could leave Rugby on a train in 9 different directions. By the late 1890s, this place was packed full of railways. So when the Great Central finally arrived, they had some construction issues to contend with. And first of all, they had to build a new signal gantry for their great rival, the Midland Railway, because the new line would block the signalman's view. And the Great Central also decided to build their own station here rather than share with any of the existing lines.
So Rugby got another station with that distinctive Great Central layout.
Yeah, once you know what you're looking for, this is quite obviously the station. You've got the edge of the platform here and the other side, and it's that island platform again. It's the same layout as we've seen time and again on the Great Central. And look how wide these bridges are again, allowing for quadruple track, possibly one day to have come through. Sadly, never did. Which means that, once again, the station building would have started at road level and then come down onto the island. Now, it's not going to have been at that side, because that's at the end of the platform. So, it would have been here. And that's why I guess you've got these larger bits of structure on this side, allowing for steps to have come down from the road level, and then pedestrians would have come down onto the station. This is where you would have bought your ticket. This is where you would have had the waiting rooms. All the bits of the station on the island platform. Yeah. Classic Great Central layout. It's easy once you know what you're looking for.
I've decided to end my walk 12 miles further south so I can take in one of the most impressive pieces of railway engineering on the entire line. A very long tunnel at Catesby.
It was originally planned as a cutting, but the local landowner, Henry Attenborough, didn't like the idea of unsightly trains spoiling his view, so a tunnel was built instead. And it's just as well he kicked up a fuss, really, because 123 years later, the tunnel is set to become something truly unexpected.
There are hundreds of disused railway tunnels in the UK, and this is one of the longest. Hidden from view down in the old railway cutting, it looked destined to be filled in. Until a team of engineers decided that this former high-speed tunnel is the perfect place to conduct aerodynamic tests on cars. Rob Lewis leads the project.
Hi.
Very nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
The cutting gives it all this, almost the whole thing's shrouded in secrecy. You make your way up here and no one's seeing in at all.
That was kind of lucky. So we've got this secret test base buried in the mountain effect, and it wasn't planned like that. That's just how it happened. So.
But it starts with this big shed here.
So we're in truck bay 1, and next to us is an identical truck bay. The idea is the team, the race car team, road cars would back into here, get ready for their test, and when it's their turn, that shutter would go up and they'd go into the test area. So if you've got Ford in here and Nissan in there, they should never find out that the other one was here.
Right, OK. Am I right in thinking that's the tunnel down through there?
Yeah, that's the tunnel. 1.7 miles.
1.7 miles.
Rob's team began work on the tunnel 2 years ago, laying an ultra-smooth tarmac surface. Conversion to road use has been relatively easy because, of course, it was built dead straight and on a constant gradient.
First impressions in here, Rob, is just how enormous this tunnel is. It's wide and it's high as well.
So this was one of the last tunnels the Victorians did. It's a double-width tunnel, and it's built of Staffordshire blue bricks.
I mean, you've got the old telltale signs that this was railway. That's the little recess, isn't it, for the workers?
To dive into when a train's coming,
Yeah. So we're into the test facility here now then. This is where you'll have vehicles doing their aerodynamic and other testing.
This is the run-up, so this is the bit where you start to accelerate up to speed, and once you're at speed, you do the tests.
Air resistance testing is usually carried out in a wind tunnel, where the vehicle is stationary. But in this tunnel, the cars can let rip.
This is the real car on a real road, moving in consistent conditions. So no wind, no temperature change, and an ideal experiment.
OK. And what kind of speeds might you be able to get up to in that?
That's a good question. For certain cars, I wouldn't be surprised if they get close to 200 miles an hour.
Whoa, yeah, because you're talking about racing cars as well.
Race cars,
being tested in here. And there's not much else like this anywhere in the world?
There's no commercially available facilities like this in the world.
And here it is in the middle of England on what was the Great Central Railway.
If all goes to plan, Catesby Tunnel will be officially opened in the next 6 months.
We ride!
But it won't only be used for testing cars.
All right, full steam ahead.
On Sundays, Rob plans to throw open the tunnel to any cyclists who want to test their speed.
This is one of the most surreal cycling experiences I've ever had, for so many reasons. I'm the only one in this tunnel at the moment, on this beautifully smooth surface. I mean, that feels amazing along here. And I've got 1.7 miles worth of this ahead of me. And this is just another example of where the infrastructure of the old Great Central Railway is now being repurposed for the 21st century.
This railway was so well built that mighty remnants of its infrastructure will clearly be with us for a very long time to come. A few hundred yards from the end of the tunnel, I've got time to enjoy just one more. The Catesby Viaduct. Built of blue Staffordshire bricks, this 480 feet long behemoth is not open to the public, but I've been given special permission to get up close.
Look at this. Wow. You know, it's a real testament to the ambition and the scale of this line, that within such a short space, you've got the almost 2 mile long tunnel and now this giant 12 arch long viaduct with such beautiful brickwork. It really was no expense spared here.
This is yet another legacy in the landscape of the Great Central's uncompromising resolve to be straighter, flatter, and faster than its rivals. From here, high-speed trains continued another 75 miles to the London terminus at Marylebone Station. And despite Edward Watkins' grand ambitions, that was as far as the line ever got. His dream of reaching France through a Channel tunnel was not to be realised for another 100 years.
This railway really was unlike any other I've explored so far. It was single-minded in its determination to provide an express route straight through the heart of central England. But despite that, the passenger numbers were low, and the inevitable axe fell in the mid-60s as part of the beaching cuts. Its biggest mistake was that it arrived too late, and by then the competition was simply too great. But that said, if you look at HS2 and the route it could take, perhaps the Great Central Railway was just right after all, but for the 21st century.